where faith, culture, and politics collide. This is Give Me Liberty Media. This is the Tyler Morgan Show on Relentless Daring Media Network. Welcome back to Land of Bourbon and Bad Decisions. This is the Tyler Morgan Show live on twitch.tv/Tyler Morgan Show. I know, seems kind of odd and fortuitous that the link would be the Tyler Morgan Show, but hey, it is what it is. I can't help that. Well, I can a little, but anyways, if you're watching this live on Twitch, thank you for joining me live. If you're checking this out on YouTube, whenever you get the opportunity, youtube.com/@the-Tyler-Morgan-Show. If you're not already following me there, and remember on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and get the hit the bell for notifications, and be sure to share the videos. Share it with people who you think will enjoy it. Share it with people who you think will drive them absolutely batcrap crazy. Either way, I will accept it. I will accept the spite share, or I will accept the hey, check out what this guy has to say. I think it means something. I don't necessarily know if it means something good or not, but it means something. Or, also, maybe you're listening to this on podcast. Remember, if you're a new listener, ask four things every week. Subscribe or follow for the case of Apple, because Apple's weird. They want to be different. So be sure to subscribe or follow, then rate it, review it, and share this episode or the podcast in general with, again, someone who you think will enjoy it, or someone who you think will be driven absolutely up the wall and be angry and mad that you did this. Again, spite sharing. I love spite shares. It makes me feel like a better person, knowing that I'm being used to drive somebody else crazy. Brings a tear to my eye. I washed down with a little tequila and no one will care. But before we get into the wild and wacky news of the week, I would say I've got to pay bills, but these are not paid. These are not paid advertisements. These are mutually assured, mutually beneficial product placements. I don't get anything out of it, and they get their brands talked about. And before I dive into everything, I'm going to talk about bluecollarbeardsman.com. Yes, Blue Collar Beardsman. If you're watching this on video, you're watching a replay on Twitch, you're watching this on YouTube, whatever, you'll see that the weather's starting to turn, so I'm starting to grow the beard back out. And the best way to keep my face from getting all itchy and to keep the hair, the beard, from being scratchy and gross, and where my wife is like, ew, get that off your face, I use beard oil. I used to think that beard oil was all like gross and smells like patchouli and it's all hipster stuff. But the wonderful people at Blue Collar Beardsman, Dalton, more in particular, he worked to find a good blend of oils. These are natural oils. These aren't just, random seed oils that, people use as a carrier for a scent. These are, ostrich oils, rice husk oils, and stuff that actually has really good benefits for the hair and for the skin. And then good, safe, natural scents to not only condition the hair and skin with your beard, but to make it smell pleasant. You don't get that nasty patchouli smell. Now, I'm sure there's some hipsters out there who are like, I like the smell of patchouli, man. I liked it before it was cool. Yeah, whatever. Don't care. But anyways, a blue collar beardsman, they designed a beard oil that works as hard as you do, and they honor hard work. And especially when you sign up with their subscription program and you get the monthly scents that come out, the special scents, um, it's always something to honor the different trades and different areas of blue collar work. Certified forklift. I think the one coming up for October is small engine repair. Check it out. Like I said, they have so many great scents that they have as their regular lineup, and then what they do for the special scents every month. So many great ones. Check them out today. BlueCollarBeardsman.com. All righty. So you're noticing the title of this. Why are Democrats afraid to clean up the voter rolls? I mean, there's a lot of answers that could probably be reached relatively easy because um many of the many of the states that are Democrat run, and they have mail-in voting and so many other reasons. If you keep a bunch of excessive names on the voter rolls, then it provides opportunities to send out ballots to someone who may not actually be eligible to vote, or someone who is, dead or incarcerated for a felony. You name it. They can keep these names and recycle them. But then when it comes to a lot of states that they pass laws that every so often the Secretary of State goes through and they verify the voter rolls are up to date. If a person has not voted in so many years, they go inactive and they can still vote. They just have to, update their voter registration. Or, they find people who are have been convicted of felonies, and if that state does not have a statute that allows felons who have completed their their full sentence, whether it was the straight amount of time in prison or the time they were in prison and then paroled and they've completed the parole and paid back any restitutions that they may have to. But whatever the state's conditions for restoring voter rights to felons, if the person, like I said, has not completed that, but they're on the voter rolls, nope. You are ineligible to vote until you have done these. Or finding non-citizens. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not directed solely at illegal aliens. Non-citizens also refers to legal immigrants. These are people who are here with permanent residency, but they have not been naturalized yet. If you've not been naturalized, guess what? You're ineligible to vote. This goes to temporary visa holders, whether it's, a student visa, it's a work visa, what have you. They're people who, again, they have been vetted and they are here legally, but they have registered to vote because, I'm living here in Missouri, so I need a Missouri driver's license so I can drive to school, so I can drive to my job, whatever. And there are places that when you get your driver's license, are you registered to vote? Would you like to register to vote? And they will register you right there. So there's a lot of reasons why non-citizens end up on the voter rolls. Many times it is completely innocuous. And I'm not going to say that every time a non citizen, be it an illegal alien, be it a legal resident, be it a person who was here on a student or work visa and they're going to be here for several years, there's a number of reasons that are completely innocuous as to why they were end up on the voter rolls, end up registered to vote. Like I said, they come here, maybe they don't quite grasp English as good as they thought, and so they get asked about registering to vote. They say yes, not really knowing, and but then they never vote. That's fine. I'm fine with that, as long as they're not doing something like being a non-citizen voting. But we've been seeing here in the last year, Democrats just fighting tooth and nail when it comes to cleaning up voter rolls. We saw this in Georgia in 2016, leading up to the 2016 election, and again in 2020. And we're seeing it now in states like Alabama. Arizona is a huge site for this stupid fighting because the state has a law that the counties will clear the rolls of ineligible voters. And now you have county officials and the Secretary of State who are refusing to do their duty as prescribed under state law. Now, normally I would say they should be thrown out of office immediately. And I do believe that because when you're elected into one of these positions or appointed into one of these positions, most of the time they take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the state and sometimes even the Constitution of the United States of America, as well as the local laws and local laws of their jurisdiction. So now you have Democrat uh, you have Democrats at the county level who are the ones who are supposed to go through the county rolls and who are refusing to do their jobs. You have a Secretary of State in Arizona that is refusing to force these county officials into doing their job. You have a governor who is refusing to enforce it. And it's just turning into a giant crap show. But seriously, the Democrats here for the last 2 years, well, for the last 3 years, we're the party of law and order. Did you see what they did on January 6th? It is ridiculous for them to say that they believe in law and order. They staged a coup. And in that coup, they tried to hang the vice president. We, the Democrat Party, are the party of law and order. But when it comes to enforcing laws that are on the books, like when to clear the voter rolls and the prescribed time and method to do it, or to, I don't know, detain illegal immigrants in order for INS or whoever they call it now, Border Patrol, La Migra, to come and round up the illegal aliens and ship them back to whatever place they came from. Maybe they're an illegal alien who is here from Germany on an expired visa. Guess what? I'm sorry, Hans, but you've overstayed your visa. Now you will be sent back to Berlin. Auf Wiedersehen. I'm s- I'm sorry, Mr. Hirohito. Your work visa expired 3 years ago, and as amazing a job as you're doing here, you're going to lose your job and you will be flown back to Japan. It's just not that hard to enforce the laws. And I get it. It's easy at the border to just, yeah, screw it and let people through. Or in the case of what has been happening to the tune of 400 some thousand in just a few months. I don't have that story available, but just I think it was like a 1 month time, over 400,000 that, oh, we we caught you and yeah, you're not exactly a great person, but our bosses say released you inside the states. Here's your court date that you'll probably never come back to. But again, the people making these decisions are claiming to be about law and order. And now in Alabama, Alabama has said, hey, we're going to do this. And now, now the DOJ is getting involved because you're because it's within 90 days of the election. But again, Alabama has a responsibility to ensure that people who are ineligible to vote cannot vote. Because the federal government sure as heck, I almost said something else, that they're not doing anything about it. Unless a state is trying to do something they don't like, then they have to get involved. This is from Just the News. And if you remember my rant from last week, I've not proofread this story. I will try to proofread it as I go and make corrections. However, if I get hung up on poor grammar or poor punctuation or things are just inherently dumb, like fat fingering a a number and a date, making it appear 10 years after the event actually took place, I will not be held responsible for my outburst. I'm sorry. So, again, this is Just the News. DOJ sues Alabama over attempt to remove non citizens from voter rolls. The U.S. Department of Justice said Friday it is suing Alabama for trying to remove non citizens from voting lists, arguing the efforts come too close to the presidential election in November. Ah, yes, because non citizens and legal and illegal alike should be able to remain on the rolls because, you know, it's just too close to the election. According to the Washington Times, the DOJ asked a federal judge to order Alabama to put the names of the presumed ineligible voters back on the active voter list, in part because it claims that some actual citizens were told that they had been moved to the inactive voter file. Okay, there are people that can be moved to the inactive voter file, whether they're citizens or not. And again, this could be people who are natural born citizens, but they've been convicted of a felony. These could be natural born citizens who are registered to vote, however, have never exercised their right to vote, and therefore they've been moved to the inactive file. Not that big of a deal. The DOJ's argument also boils down to timing, since Alabama announced its intentions 84 days before the election, which might violate the Federal National Voter Registration Act that prohibits the deletion of names from election lists within 90 days of an election. Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark said the lawsuit should be reviewed as a warning to other states, adding, and it's critical that Alabama redress voter confusion. Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen said that his office, using data from U.S. Department of Homeland Security, has identified 3,251 people who are potential non citizen voters. He said it is possible that some people deemed as non citizens by Homeland Security later became citizens. So, this is the most recent data they had showing that, hey, they're not a citizen, but since they acquired this data, they're now they have since naturalized that's possible, and the fact that they're acknowledging it, hey, yeah, we know we're trying to check all this out before we 100% lock it out. He says possible some people deemed as non-citizens by Homeland Security later became citizens, and he is in the process of helping them verify their status. Okay, see, the, the left should be praising him that, hey, not only it's like, yeah, he's doing this, but he's trying to make sure that he's not taking anyone off who shouldn't come off the rolls. I was elected Secretary of State by the people of Alabama, and it is my constitutional duty to ensure that only American citizens vote in our elections, Allen said in a statement. However, Clark said some of those alleged non citizens were born in the U.S., thus, Allen's claims are inaccurate. Again, yeah, and I get, 14th Amendment rulings on anchor babies and all that. But he's also making decisions based on reviewing the evidence. Again, Assistant U.S. Attorney Clark, if he's going through and he's verifying this, what's the problem? And again, if it's a problem of some of these who are deemed non citizens who were born in the United States, these records came from Department of Homeland Security. Shouldn't you be asking Department of Homeland Security, dude, bro, what the F over? Why do you have Americans with American birth certificates listed as non citizens? Shouldn't that be the question being asked? Not pointing at the guy who's trying to fix a problem and making a problem that he's not responsible for suddenly his problem. I don't get it. And apparently that was the end of the story. Yeah, it's like you can see this everywhere when it comes to any kind of issue when it comes to voter rolls. Currently here in Missouri, what is on the ballot for November is a dual parter. The first part is that only American citizens will be eligible to vote in the state of Missouri, and that will probably pass. And then the other half of that deals with the prohibition on ranked choice voting, because ranked choice voting has been known to bite states in the ass on more than one occasion when you have the guy who everyone wants to win. He hasn't gotten that magic number yet to that vote is his. Boom, it's done. And then you have your second, third, and fourth, but neither third or fourth place has reached that threshold to stay in. So people who voted for whoever's coming in third or fourth as their number one, now their number two vote was going to go to whoever is currently in second place. So now suddenly all those votes, boom, go to the second place person, and then they end up winning the election. And it's a person who's an absolute crazy nut job that no one was, that only the most hardcore supporters of the crazy nut job wanted in there. And then the rest of the state pays for it. I mean, it's a complicated situation. When every office that you're running, that you're voting on, you have to cast like 4 votes in a specific order to decide who you want. So I'm actually kind of happy Missouri is working to get rid of the ranked choice vote. Well, I say get rid of to stop it dead in its tracks. That is, I think, will be a good thing for helping clean up elections, because the more complicated that we have elections, when you have drop boxes, when you have 3-4 weeks of early voting, and so now you have to keep track of who has, who has had possession of the ballots, that chain of custody thing. You can't maintain 30 days worth. I mean, you could maintain 30 days of the chain of custody vote or chain of custody documents, but it always seems so difficult. And then you always have these weird dumps in the middle of the night where I found these ballots sitting under the trash can out in the park. So you got to get them in. I guess people thought that the trash can at the park was one of them their voting drop boxes. And we used to do this all the time in the past. You'd have paper ballots. Now, maybe you've got the Scantron thingy set up that you can just take a stack of ballots, set in the Scantron thingy, and zip, 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 and it reads where the bubbles are filled in, and then it's got a pre-programmed thing. They'll tell you, all right, this dot combination says you voted for this guy, voted this on that proposition, voted this on that amendment, voted this on this judge. And you would have your results in one night. By the time you went to bed, you would know who the next president, the next governor, the next congressman for your district was. But no, that's too simple. It's too simple. Now you got to have 2 weeks early voting, 30 days of early voting. Shoot, I'm pretty sure there are states that have almost 90 days of early voting, because why not? It is so hard to get there on election day and take 15 minutes to cast your ballot. Now, don't get me wrong, there's districts that are huge populations, and if everyone's voting on election day, you could be there a while. I get it, especially if you're an after work voter, because you don't work inside your election district, inside your precinct, and you have a half hour, 45-minute commute after work just to get to your precinct, and everyone else is getting there at the same time, and you might be there a couple hours, because suddenly it goes from at 5 o'clock there is no one there, and then it's hold on a second. Had a glass bottle that apparently broke under my desk, and I'm going to have to question my dogs about what they've been doing in here, tearing stuff up. Darn goobers. Uh, my dogs are somehow smashed a Jim Beam bottle under my desk. Little boogers. I'm amazed it didn't just like pierce my ankle. Uh, Live podcasting. God bless America. But that's it. There's so much of a fight to prevent securing our elections. You make the argument that okay, well, I'm willing to concede that it's really hard to for everyone to vote, especially if you live in a very dense precinct and everyone hits the polling place at the same time. And no one wants to be that guy, be that precinct worker who walks out to the back of the line at 7 p.m. when the polls close and have to start saying, sorry, folks, polls are closed. Everyone who's in line behind me, everyone who's behind me can get in and vote. None of y'all can who are walking up. No one wants to be that guy, but it has to happen. It honestly does. But the same time, that you can concede that okay, maybe 2 weeks of early voting. Yep. Yeah, and you need to come in with an affidavit saying why you need to vote early. Same thing with absentee ballots. You do an affidavit saying I will not be able to vote on election day because X, Y, and Z. I have a medical procedure. I will be out of town. Blah 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 blah. If you have that affidavit that says I need to vote early because I leave for work before the polls open, and I by the time I get home, it's going to be a 3-hour wait to vote because everyone else will be voting at the same time. Okay, cool. We acknowledge this, and you can vote early. I I'm willing to make concessions, but 90 days? 90 days? Holy snot. Those states that need 90 days for early voting, it's just no. And the idea of again, paper ballots. Georgia has a thing where the ballots will be hand counted. Not necessarily for vote totals, but all right, we ran this many ballots through the counting machine and we hand counted this many. We have a discrepancy. Where is it? And people were losing their minds. And even if it's like, all right, check, 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 check. All right, all right, this one has been counted. Next one, check, 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 check. And you have a paper with hash marks for each person and each topic, and each one gets a mark, and you add them up. It's not incredibly dumb. It's somewhat dumb, but again, that's how we used to do it for 200 years. Why suddenly is it so scary that people have to hand count? And why is it that Democrats are so scared of doing that? That's just something I ask myself about, and just something to ponder as one of the listeners. Just what is it that makes it so scary to clean up voter rolls and to only have voting done on election day, a day for election, a day to decide? Again, I'm not some heartless bastard who does not want people who have jobs outside their community to not be able to vote. If you need if you need to use early voting for 2 weeks out to make sure people in your district have the opportunity, By all means, I believe in enfranchising voters. But the whole idea that you have to give, was it, I think it's Pennsylvania has almost 90 days of early voting. And that's just weird. I don't think there's any precinct, even in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, or Harrisburg, or Erie, that is so populous, it needs 90 days for everyone to have an opportunity to vote. One of those things. All right. So before I go into the next topic that I'm sure is going to drive me all the way to the end of the program, let me talk to you about coffee. Ah, yes. American Pride Roasters, the finest coffee in all of Iowa. And I just happen to have a cup of it here right now. I know. I have a Coke that I'm working on, coffee I'm working on, and the tequila. I'm kind of a mess right now. But coffee, Calvin Coolidge blend from American Pride Roasters. Like I said, this is a small, local owned company that ships across the country. Tell them what you want. They roast the beans, grind them to order, and get them in the mail as soon as possible. That way you can go right on to enjoying. Maybe it's the Ronald Reagan A Time for Choosing blend. Or you kind of want dessert coffee. It's got little hints of blueberries and stuff to it. Yeah, maybe you'll be going for the Hamilton Burr. So many great flavors of coffee, whether it's just traditional coffee flavored coffee, which that's my thing, coffee flavored coffee, or you're into some of the flavored coffees. Maybe into a little chocolate and raspberry. The Ron Sexual Chocolate would probably be right up your alley. If you're like me and you're a fan of bacon, the Doc Thompson's Bacon Blast is chef's kiss. You get a hint of that salty, bacony goodness with the coffee. It's like drinking your breakfast every day. All you need is some scrambled eggs to go with it and some hash browns, and boom. You don't even need the actual bacon because you're getting the bacon flavor in the coffee. It's amazing. Check them out today, aprcoffee.com. Historically great coffee. All right. So this is another story that kind of caught me off guard. And I have to ask, who is begging for this? I mean, I know who is begging for it, but at the lowest level, aside from certain personnel, who was asking for this? All right, so this headline, this is from Blaze Media. 162 congressional Democrats call to impose LGBTQIA2 plus ad infinitum policies on U.S. military just weeks before the election. Drag shows, drag queen story hour, pride flags, and transgender books for children are included. A letter from congressional Democrats called to remove protections from LGBTQIA2 plus agenda on the U.S. military just weeks before Americans decide who will lead the government at the ballot. That is not a them error. That was me, my brain working faster than my mouth, which has been known to happen a lot. A Republican U.S. Senator who wrote this? Who wrote this Blaze News? Staff writer? Who? Chip Roy is not a senator. I hoped I wouldn't have to do this. Okay. Leon Wolf, Tyler Cardin, Gaston Mooney. Who is in charge of copy editing? Basic fact checking, making sure you have the information right. Because this article from Blaze Media, it has your company's masthead on it. Doesn't have an author, it just says Blaze News. Maybe it's just like a news wire that got copied over, literally copied and pasted. But please, for love of Pete, Can we please edit? I just went off on poor John Solomon last week about the same thing. Can we please edit? Because last time I checked, Chip Roy, as states in this states verbatim reading from this article, Republican U.S. Senator Chip Roy of Texas. Since when does Texas have 3 senators? You have John Cornyn. You have Ted Cruz. Since when did Chip Roy become a senator? Because he's not. He's a congressman. There's a difference. Please, I beg you. Leon Wolf, Tyler Cardin, Gaston Mooney, please, please beat the editorial staff with a wet noodle until morale improves. That's the only way you're going to fix this. The only way. Beat them senseless until they realize we can be better. We can do better. Anyways, back to the story. Republican U.S. Congressman Chip Roy of Texas revealed the letter on his social media account to inform the public about the extremist demand. The care transgender service members receive is essential for them to be their authentic selves and to focus on their mission. All right, I'm going to pause there. Yes, they may be being, quote, their authentic selves, end quote, but they're really not. They're being a contrived version of themselves that did not exist until they started having issues that they decided that being a man will make me who I'm supposed to be. It's like, no, you're not authentically a man, Louise. You're authentically a woman pretending to be a dude. And I don't like you wearing dude face. It's demeaning to me. No, Kevin, your authentic self is not a woman named Kylie. You are a dude wearing woman face, and it is as pitiful and patronizing of an act as me trying to wear blackface and do a minstrel show. It won't happen because it is offensive. But anyways, I digress. And again, it's not their authentic selves. It's contrived. And mission and focus on the mission. Okay. Focus on their mission. Okay. See, when you're going through transgender treatments due to medication availability and some of those medications involved, as well as the physical surgeries for, surgical stuff involving transition, whether it be mastectomies, whether it be bad in surgery. I don't even know what surgeries are involved. An addictomy and a take a dick from me. Whatever they're called. I hate that bottom surgery, top surgery. It's so infantile. Anyways, when you're going through this, you're going through the recovery phase after this. And keep in mind, this is being paid for on the taxpayer dime. These are being paid for through TRICARE. And I guarantee you some of these surgeries, especially the addictomy or the take a dick from me, either of those are not being performed by a green suited army doctor on an army post. They're probably not being performed by a civilian doctor on an army post. They're being farmed out to a place that's charging way too much money, and it's being paid for by the taxpayer. Now, if a soldier has cancer and they're being treated off post for their cancer, I don't have a problem with that. However, that soldier is not mission capable because they have one mission at that point. It's called staying alive. But for someone who is trans to be using the military, guess what? They are not deployable because of medical reasons. The medicines that are involved, are they hard to get? Well, yes, they're very hard to get. Okay, we can't deploy you because we cannot guarantee that you'll have your meds on time. What are the behavioral health implications of some of these medicines? Whether it be, you know, the estrogen pills, whether it be testosterone pills. Well, due to the inherent risk of suicide or, you know, outbursts that could lead to, physical attacks on others, we can't deploy you. And then again, physical recovery and preparation for any sort of surgeries involved in transgender care. I'm not going to call it gender affirmation care because to affirm your gender would be to say, Steve, no, you're not Stephanie, you're Steve. You've always been Steve, you'll always be Steve, regardless of what clothes you wear, how long you grow your hair out, no matter what drugs you take, no matter what surgeries you have, you will always be Steve, not Stephanie. That is gender affirmation. But you do these surgeries, like I said, the physical prep time, the physical recovery time, be it, for the immediate recovery and then any sort of physical therapy required to help regain certain usages and occupational therapy to regain research regain certain abilities afterwards. That takes time. You're not deployable. It can take a couple years. So now you have a person who joined the military. They're getting all these great benefits, but they're not doing the job that they said they would do when they joined up. Denying this access to health care would deter transgender people from joining the armed forces, damaging retention efforts, and hurt our military readiness. Read the letter. No, it will not hurt our readiness to have people who will end up being non-deployable not join the military or to not stay in the military. Roy said the efforts would lead to the military promoting transgender surgeries, drag shows, transgender books, and pride flags. This letter appeared to reference these expressions of support for the LGBTQIA2 plus ad infinitum movement when Democrats called for Congress to, quote, ensure that LGBTQIA2 plus ad infinitum EIEIO service members and their family members feel welcome in the military and that symbols and art forms related to the LGBTQIA2 plus ad infinitum EIEIO community are not singled out for censorship, end quote. One of the signatories posted about the letter on her social media account. Quote, our military should be welcoming to anyone willing and able to serve. That's why I led 162 House Democrats in calling for the removal of LG of anti and calling to remove anti-LGBTQIA2 plus provisions from this year's NDAA. End quote. Wrote Sarah Jacobs, Congresswoman, California. I do believe if you are willing and able to serve, you should. I do not think you should be drafted, conscripted, uh, victim of a press gang forcing you into service. But if you're willing and able and you want to serve, you should. No, no ifs, ands, or buts. If there's medical reasons why you can't, then that sucks. But hey, you probably saved yourself from tearing your body up even further. So that's a win. End of the day, I never had a problem with gays in the military. I've served with gay soldiers. Guess what? They weren't lurking outside my room to try to have surprise sex with me every time I turned around. They were just dudes doing their job. They weren't interested in me. I was not interested in them. Hell, many of the times I didn't find out until after the deployment that Oh, yeah, yeah. Bob over there? Yeah, he's been having a hard time. We asked him if his boyfriend broke up with him. That was awkward because we didn't know he actually had a boyfriend who broke up with him. It's kind of a shocker. But I thought ending Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which, as much as people want to say, that's a dirty Republican policy. No, it was a Bill Clinton policy. What party was Bill Clinton again? The guy who said, you can be gay in the military, but you can't tell anyone. They can't ask you about it. And if you get caught living your life, you will be kicked out. If you admit to it, you tell somebody that, yeah, I'm gay, guess what? They can kick you out. That was the ever progressive and loving and charitable Bill Clinton. So when Barack Obama lifted Don't Ask, Don't Tell, I was like, cool, whatever. I'm not concerned that, again, someone's going to have the surprise sex with me and try to grape me in the showers. There was no concern. I was glad because soldiers who at this point had never had an issue with serving could now be like, cool. People can know I'm gay. I don't have to feel like I'm hiding something. And it doesn't really affect my job. So, who cares? But now they want to push this to ensure that people who are not going to be able to do their jobs because of, again, medications and physical limitations due to surgical procedures. No, it sounds like we're running a let's trans all the soldiers health club paid for 100% at the citizens' expense. This letter was also signed by Democrat representatives Pramila Jayapal of New York and Mark Pocan of Wisconsin, among others. Jayapal posted sections of the proposed policy change that specifically included drag shows, pride flags, and transgender books for school children. Oh, isn't that lovely? All right, little Jimmy, here's your book, Genderqueer. Just ignore all the drawings that are incredibly awkward and inappropriate for a 10-year-old and go about your day, including Drag Queen Story Hour. Drag artists and their performances serve as an essential form of self-expression, and drag performance had long been a part of military history, tracing back to World War I and World War II. Okay, if you're going back to World War I and World War II, talking about drag performances, these were not drag performances. These were men on the front lines who, in an attempt to amuse themselves, would take women's clothes that they picked up on the battlefield, put them on, and make a mockery of themselves and lighten the situation. That was not a drag show. None of these guys in World War II were coming out in freaking nipple pasties and a G-string, acting like they're a woman when they're clearly not, to hoots and hollers and general bodiness of their fellow soldiers. That didn't happen in World War I and World War II. The Democrats who wrote this are freaking stupid because they think that people are dumb enough to go, oh, well, I guess. Oh. I mean, were the guys who dressed up in nuns, and was it Some Like It Hot? I think that's what it was. I don't remember which movie it was. It was a Marilyn Monroe flick, and you had two guys that were running from the cops. They dressed up as nuns. Was that a drag performance? Because they dressed up as nuns? Was it a drag performance way back in the 1600s when a lot of times women were banned from doing theater? So, for the truth has been, you must be willing to wear a dress and a girdle, and possibly even a hoop skirt and bloomers, in order to perform Sir William Shakespeare's great plays. Was that a drag performance then? Because I'm pretty sure if they tried doing what we see in drag performances now, way back in 1624, they would have probably been burned at the freaking stake. But what do I know? I'm just a big dummy. Voters cite the economy and inflation as their top concerns in the election, while LGBTQIA2 plus ad infinitum EIEIO rights rated less than 0.5% in importance in a recent Gallup poll among Americans. Again, this is the forcing of an agenda. This is going back to during the Obama administration of allowing women in combat arms, which I don't know. I never had to deal with that during my time in, even though it was becoming a thing towards the end of my military career. I know from my personal experiences with a female MP while on an overnight patrol in Afghanistan. She was wore out. She was tired. She was not physically prepared for the mission. Slipping and sliding in the mud because it rained for the first half of the mission and everything was just caked in mud. And at one point, she slipped in the mud, fell on her ass, and then refused to stand up. She refused to stand up in Afghanistan, in sector, outside the wire. And I had to grab her by her body armor and yank her to her feet and start her walking and just stay motivating her ass all the way back to the cop for about, I don't know, 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers. I really don't know how far that is. But it's 5 kilometers. That's about 3.1 miles of having to continually keep going. Do not stop. Do not stop. Are all women in combat going to be like that? Probably not. But how many are? How like I said, I've got a lot of questions about it. I didn't get to live that experience to see. Okay, well, looks like specialist Becky Joe Williams over there is doing an absolutely outstanding job. Hell, she's putting half her platoon to shame. I haven't gotten to see those kind of results. I just know what I have seen. And it's all this social, social experimentation it's what it comes down to. Well, what happens if we put people into this situation? Oh, this is good, a great one for the sociologist to study. I don't know, but the whole idea that we have to foist this on the troops, either by congressional action or through action from higher chain of command, saying you will participate and you will enjoy it. Whether it's that or whether it is, they say Congress passing this law that lifts these restrictions and then suddenly it's everywhere in their faces. This kind of stuff never works out well. It never has. It never will. If you want people to join the military, be honest about what the military entails. Be honest about possible experiences. But when you cater to Well, for LGBTQIA2 plus ad infinitum month, we're going to be doing blah, 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 blah. And we'll make sure if you're a boy who thinks you're a girl, we'll make sure you get that take a dick from me from surgery. And then we'll make sure that get the boob implants done. So that way you feel like a real woman. No, no, that's not what we need to be doing. We need to provide care and comfort for people who have mental illness and transgenderism. I'm sorry, this is going to get me in trouble, but it is a mental illness. It is a form of body dysmorphia. If you have a skinny person who used to be fat and they lost a ton of weight and they look in the mirror and they say, I'm fat, even though they're 100 pounds less than what they used to weigh, it's body dysmorphia. It can be treated. Just because you used to be fat and now you're skinny does not mean you need to go and eat all the food in the entire neighborhood to get back up to that weight. That way, your mind's mental image matches your actual physical body or body integrity, body identity integrity disorder. I think that BIID. You get hit by a car and then you have it in your head. You should have lost your leg at the knee, but you still have a leg at the knee. It doesn't feel like your leg. And I just need to deal with it. And you go to the doctor, say, Doc, that's not my leg. I need you to take it off. The doctor's just going to look at you and go, all right, come with these nice men in the white coats, the butterfly nets, and we're going to have you talk with somebody because that's not right. They never want to look at transgenderism as it being a cry for help and a cry for attention. A long-term study out of Scandinavia showed that the likelihood of transgender people, even post transition, they've done the social transition, they've done the chemical transition, they've done the physical transition. The odds of suicide or the rate of suicide is 19 times that of of people who were dealing with transgenderism, went to therapy, and just went on to live a normal homosexual lifestyle versus transitioning and putting their body through an incredible amount of trauma just so that your physical appearance matches what you have in your brain. There is a word for that disconnect between reality and what goes on in your brain. It's called delusion. And there are people who are going to be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he's calling trans people delusional." Well, they kind of are. By the definition of delusion, that disconnect between reality and what's going on in your brain, that is 100% what is going on with people with transgenderism. They have they are in a delusion, and what they need is people to talk to who aren't going to judge them, who aren't going to call them names, but who's going to listen and who will gently push back and acknowledge, yeah, you do feel this way, but I think it's only temporary, and here's why. And work with them to get them to see that this beautiful body that God has put them in is not a mistake. That they don't have to go through years and years of physical suffering and torment at their own hands just because they think They need their body to match their mind's eye. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Always on a high note with this show. Jiminy Crickets, holy cow. I'm always, here lately, it seems like I'm always ending on like a total downer, man. I need some better news stories. Anywho's, again, thank you for listening. If you are a new podcast listener and you made it all the way through all of that and you forgot what I told you at the beginning of the episode, well, don't worry. I'm going to refresh you. Again, if you're a new podcast listener, be sure to subscribe or follow if it's Apple Podcasts. I don't know why they have to be different, but they are. Once you've done that, please rate the show. I'm looking for 5 stars. I'll accept 4. 3 and below, hit me up on X. You can find me, find me at fake Tyler Morgan on X. My DMs are open. Just tell me why you think you need to give me 3 or less. If you are respectful, I will be respectful back. If you are mean and mean-spirited, I will make fun of you. This is what I do. Once you have rated the show, please write a review, say something nice. If you decide you're going to, in a public setting, act like a fool and say mean things, like say I'm a wannabe Alex Jones, or I just want to talk about myself and hear myself speak, I will make fun of you. There's a reason why I was oddly specific with things that will make me make fun of you. Anyways, now that you have subscribed, rated, and reviewed, please, please, please share this episode with someone who you think will love it. Better yet, with someone who you think will hate it, but maybe they're open to some new ways of thinking, and I might come across as a way to get them to move along down the road towards conservative. Maybe you're going to send us someone who is going to hear this and go, "What the hell was that? This moron." Rage. I will live with that as well. I enjoy enraging people. It is fun. Again, thank you all so much for listening. And as always, I have to set stuff up here. Hold on. When you're doing a live stream and you don't have all the bells and whistles of a team to set stuff up for you, it can be a challenge. Anywho's, and as always, stay relentless. The Tyler Morgan Show is a Relentless Daring media production. The Tyler Morgan Show is supported by its listeners. To support the show, go to ko-fi.com/Tyler Morgan Show to donate there, or relentlessdaring.com and hit the donate button at the top of the page to set up your donation. All music used in the Tyler Morgan Show is used with permission from purpleplanet.com, link in the show notes. 2 Timothy 1:7.